Hello, Namaste all. I invite you all for this webinar titled Workplace Etiquettes. I welcome you on behalf of SCOPE, that is Society for Creation of Opportunities through Proficiency in English. I welcome you all on behalf of our joint CEO, Ma'am Ms. Mansi Shivani, and our CEO, Director of Higher Education. Today's speaker is Ms. Deval Joshi, ma'am. She is already here. Welcome you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself. We can't hear you. No, ma'am, not yet. You are not audible, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, now you are audible, ma'am.
Perfect. So, good afternoon, everybody. This is Deval Joshi. And as the moderator spoken about me, I am an English trainer. And yes, of course, I'm taking care of a different kind of a life skills to different corporates and the educational institute as well. So I welcome you all in this webinar, which is known as a workplace etiquette webinar, right? So today our topic is all about how can we behave on a workplace, how can we develop ourselves as a brand to a workplace, right? So the very first question which I wanting to ask you people, when you hear this word etiquette, how do you sound that? How will you spell that? Or how will you define that particular word? I am just opening the chat box to write down the answers. So if you can permit yourself to be active participation in that, I really request you people to write down your answer here. So the question, let me repeat the question. How do you define etiquette? Or else when you hear the word etiquette, what all things comes in your mind? I am just giving you 2 minutes to go, and then after we'll proceed ahead with the discussion. Just give me thumbs up or else any verbal yes or no if you are visible enough on the screen and if my screen is visible enough for you. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Perfect. So let's start with this, that the first thing which we wish to know about, how can you define the etiquette? Okay, so here you can see a picture of a young lady, and she has worn very nicest attire, which is known as a corporate or professional attire, 3-layer suit, right? The trouser, the overcoat, and then after the shirt. Okay, and she has worn nicest accessories, she has dressed herself very nicely, but the way she is shouting, the way she is screaming, that is not giving us the positive sign, right? So is this known as etiquette or anything else we can come up with? Right? So that is the question, that is the key area from where we have to start our discussion on. Okay, So etiquette is nothing but the universally acceptable standard of behavior and interaction. Okay, so when we talk universally, that simply means when we are considering ourselves as an Indian, we Indian believe in our cultural ethics, we believe in our presentation mode with a politeness and calmness, right? So we always say Atithi Devo Bhava, right? And that's where we start ourselves hosting people. Okay? So that's where we always say namaste, we always say hello, we always say good morning also, we always say good afternoon also, but our tone is wiser and calmer enough. And that is the actual sign of being an Indian, right? Now let's consider this particular etiquette universally. Universally, there are different standards, there are different body languages which they also acquire to present themselves calm and composed body personality, just to make sure that they host people in a very different and in a very polite way, right? So Japanese, they always bow down themselves. Chinese, they bow down themselves just to greet people. The European and American, they always have the handshake first just to greet people. So there are different standards to greet people. Okay, but the simplest message by giving this kind of a nicest gesture is to become the etiquette personality, to become professional person in front of someone, right? So professionalism, it always comes with etiquette. Now what is etiquette? That's what it has been written here on your slide, that universally acceptable standard of behavior and interaction is known as etiquette. Okay? Now before we start interacting about etiquette, like how will you define etiquette, what all etiquettes you need to cover up, and what all things you can do, what all things you cannot do, what all are these set standards, rules, policies, disciplines which are been meant for different environments and culture. Let's understand the basic thing. Okay, now let's consider ourselves that we all are in a very casual way, we all are right now, we all are on a festive mode. And what if someone is coming and they say, like, whatever you are doing, you have to continue doing till 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. What happened to you? You would not resist that message. Why? Because you have your own auras, you have your own zone of comfort, and that comfort zone is not permitting you to access yourself after 5 o'clock. Why? Because you understood one thing, that after 5 o'clock, festive season will start, right? So now when we talk about etiquette, etiquette always implies with your mental state. Okay, if you are not good with your mental state, if you are not open enough with your comfort zone to serve your work, to serve your hospitality, to serve your rules and regulation on behalf of the organization, on behalf of the institute, you may not able to perform that. Why? Because your body language is such a stiff, your body language is such commanding. Your subconscious mind, your conscious mind will never ever gel up, and you start reflecting in a very different way. Hannah, first of all, you start reflecting, then you become vocal, then your body language and your verbal language both become so violent, and non-verbal sounds are also coming up in a very different way. And that's where people understood, like, yes, there's something wrong. This person is not going as per the etiquette. Okay. Okay, the second process or second thing which we need to understand here before we start is there is a difference between manners, etiquette, and of course protocol, right? So there are three words which I have spoken right now. The first word, that is etiquette, second is protocol, and third one is manners. Now, how will you define these three? Just have a pause and understand this thing. How will you define these three? Because those are considered as similar in our day-to-day conversation. Those are considered as if, yes, those are been used in a place of something else, right? So we often misuse that word, that that person is not good mannered person. It's not about good mannered, it's also about etiquette. So etiquette, we understood that universally accepted standard of behavior and interaction, right? So here what we understood, the etiquettes are representation of universe. Okay, when we talk about manners, Indian culture, they have different manners. As we said, we always believe in namaste, we always believe in bowing down to elders, we always believe in speaking in a very calm and composed way, we always believe in an exchange of love and care to people, right? So those people are considered as a mannered person, right? That person is well mannered, that person is a well socialized person, this person is talking about something which is coming in a mannerful situation, right? So there is a difference between manner and etiquette, which you understood. Now how about protocol? Protocols are the one which no one can even dare to break that. Why? Because there are certain standards, set of rules, and on the basis of that standard set of rule, you have to behave. That is known as a protocol. DAS protocol, dignitary protocols, and there are different other protocols which you will learn simultaneously as and when you grow in the system, right? So government people, they do understand what is the difference between protocol and etiquette, right? But for us, for the generalized people, we have not heard about what to do with the protocol, when to do with the protocol, and that's where we always misunderstood this term as if it's all about discipline mannerism. No, it's something beyond that, right? So today we are talking only about etiquettes, and we are not talking about this two term, but I have just give you the introduction so that you don't get confused, right? A transaction mode which will give you a lead from student life, a transaction mode which will give you a lead from student life to a corporate life. And as the first image shown you, that it's three-layer attire. But what if you are not wearing three-layer attire, but there are certain set standards which you need to follow while dressing up yourself, grooming up yourself for your workplace. So we'll talk about that too, and then after we'll talk about telephone and email etiquette, because it's not your house, it's neither your relationship area whereby you can talk anything, you can walk anything, you can speak anything, you can write anything, right? There are certain standards, there are certain limitations which you need to follow, right? So rather dealing with the standards, will always talk about limitations so that you will definitely understand what to do and what not to do. Okay, so once you know this is your boundary, so you are all set what to play in the playground. Okay, so we'll talk on that, and lastly we'll talk about meeting etiquette. Whenever you are attending some meeting, what all criterias are been defined and what all are the expectations which is coming to you as an organizational expectation, and how can you fulfill that. Okay, so those are the fundas, those are the key areas which we are going to cover in this 45 minutes, and then after we'll open up this session for Q&A round, and that's, I think, the best wrap up by having good takeaways from this webinar. So let's get started with the very basic questionnaire which will allow you to have the inside out for your professional standard. Okay, so the question is here, and the first question which I wish to shoot you up for the self-assessment is, are you a person who always wishes good morning, good afternoon, good evening whenever you are starting your day and whenever you are ending up with your day? So if you are a person, give 1 mark to yourself. And if you are lacking with that, give 0 mark to yourself. Now the second question is, are you a person who always follow the policies? Now, if you are not a working professional yet, then let's consider your student life. Then let's consider wherever you are. Are you a person who always believe in following the rules in a disciplined way? Or else you always feel like the rules are always there just to showcase something in a very better way. Rules are not for the follow, rules are just for the definition. So if you are a person, give yourself 0 mark. If you are a person who always follow, obey the rules, who always believe that yes, the rules are there to give a discipline, nurturing to myself, and that's where I need to follow the rules, give yourself 1 mark. Third is, are you a person who always clean your workplace before you leave for a day? Now, again, if you are not yet professional, you can also consider the your college room, your basic setup whereby you are sitting and you are working for a day. So, are you a person who always believe in clean the place and then you leave for a day? Give yourself 1 mark. If you are not, give yourself 0 mark. Fourth question is, are you a person who always reaches late whenever meetings are announced? It's not because of your willingness, but it's always because the last minute rushes which you follow with. So it is the result because of what you are getting delayed. The first thing is time management. You are poor with the time management. Either you are always feeling that last minute is the only time whereby I can complete my work, or else meetings are nowhere considered as an important task to perform for you, right? Could be any reason, but if at all you are getting late always for a meeting or any organizational meetup, give yourself 0. If you are a person who always reaches on a time, give yourself 1 mark. 5 number, if you can control your anger anytime, anywhere, as you understand that you are into the organizational setup, you are outside of a house and this is not your social circle, this is the professional circle which you are sharing, and that's where you need to calmer yourself, you need to compose yourself. Whenever you are speaking with someone, you always have to speak constructively, right? So there are two different ways of a communication which we always suggest to our students. That one way is a straightforward way, and we always understand, we always overheard this kind of a communication throughout our day, or else on a regular basis. I can say that I am very straightforward person. I don't keep the things with me. I don't backbiting people. I don't backbeaching people. I say always upfront to their mouth, right? But in a professionalism, in a corporate culture, we are been asked not to be upfront, not to be straightforward, rather being constructive enough with your communication. Now, what do you mean by constructive? Constructive, that simply means it is your responsibility not to hurt someone emotionally, not to hurt someone mentally. Your words should not get trigger that person ka behavior. Okay, that person ka frustration or that person ka mental disturbance should not cause just because you are speaking upfront to that person, right? So that is known as a constructive communication. Now, there are two ways to develop constructive communication. First thing is, take a pause. Always take a pause before you committing something. It's always okay to have your emotions all the time around with you. And we as a human being, we have all the rights to have are emotional to be expressed in a very different way, right? Anger, frustration, then boredom, happiness, all these emotions need to be carried in a very proper way, and that's what we want, right? So it's always okay to carry out your emotions to someone else, but it's not okay to give a rough look to someone, right? So emotions, there are two type of emotions, which we always say it's a good emotion and a bad emotion. Good emotions, whereby you are also getting disturbed. That's the only reason why you want someone else also to get disturbed by this, right? So those are the negative emotions, and you always feel low, down, frustrated by having this emotions. Either you carry that emotion or you exchange that emotion. Okay? So what we suggest is you just have to speak constructively. There are two models to speak constructively. First model is known as a sandwich model. In that, what you have to do is you just have to put your criticism, you just have to put your concern in between that two layer of a bread. Bread layer is a representation of the nicest thing which you know about that person. It could be that, yes, you have done this right, but I think there is a possibility of a correction in this particular action. And then after you again layered it out with some nicest conclusion that, yes, I know you are potential enough and you can very well do that, but I am only worried about the time, that the time is limited and you have to gear yourself a little bit higher than what is expected. So that's what the constructive speaking, constructive communication, right? So each and everybody would love to hear this kind of a constructive communication. So try practicing that kind of a communication, which is considered as a professional communication. And second way to develop the constructive communication is you always target person, right? And that's what our method is till now. कि हम हमेशा लोगों को target करते हैं that you are wrong, you are bad, you are doing this, you are doing that. But constructive speaking always gives us the way. That person is not wrong, but the behavior or timing or that cause is playing somewhere a wrong thing, and that's where this particular behavior is coming out in a very negative way. So what we suggest is you always have to point out that behavior, that it's not you, but the way this thing has happened. So the time punctuality is the concern. Your non-effectiveness towards performing this task is a concern. Your creativity is a concern. Your productivity is a concern. So you as a whole, you are not bad, but this behavior is making us somewhere in a concern zone, right? So that's how you can put forward your concern, and that will definitely give you some nicest result, which will not hamper your relationship, and that person will also understand that what all are the expectation and whereby I am lacking with, right? So try to control your anger, try to control your frustration. Don't try to be raw enough in the professional setup. And if you're doing that, give yourself 0. If you're not doing that, give yourself 1. Okay. Now, sixth one is sometimes I crack a joke on sex to become tasteful, right? We always have this kind of a habits, and we are been noticing since long that in a group we found this kind of a people around us, right, who always believe in cracking a joke, no matter what situation is, no matter who is listening to them, what kind of conditions they are putting forward to the listener. They are least bothered about that. They just want to be a testful person, right? So just to have that wrong attention, if you are doing this kind of a mistakes, it's very wrong professional image which you are carrying with you, right? So just be mindful enough whenever you are cracking joke, specifically on the sensitive issues. Sex is a sensitive issue, then casteism is a sensitive issue, cultural setup is a sensitive issue. You just have to be mindful enough while talking on that, right? Try to be generic, try to be calmer, composer, polite enough while talking with all these things. If you're wanting to take forward the discussion on these critical issues, you just have to understand what all are the vibes in the room, what all are the specification you are targeting as a listener, and then after you can put forward your arguments. And then again, how are you putting forward your arguments? It has to be in a least digestible mode. It has to have the very lighter mode. Okay? If you are good enough with that, you can take forward this communication. Otherwise, it's a completely no-no. Better to avoid this kind of a situation if you are not strategic enough in your communication. Okay? So if you are doing that, give yourself 0. If you are not doing that, give yourself 1. Okay. Now, this is something which everywhere is in a practice and people are considered this as an open culture. But I think it's not an open culture. It's out of a least professionalism. People are starting practicing it. The thing is, when you keep on asking for few things, keep on asking for help, keep on asking for to do things, keep on asking for small things like pen hai, then you misplace your papers, misplace your tags, misplace your key drawers ka key, all the things you are asking for help, right? So people are not there to help you out. Just understand, professionalism ka first principle is help yourself, right? So you are becoming independent whenever you are being transferred from student life to professional life, right? So independency never demand that you bow down, you lay down on someone who is knowing as a co-worker of yours. They are not here to help you. They are here to grow themselves in this organization. So better try to learn how can you help yourself. For technical issues, some or the other time, it's all okay. But if it is coming as a regular practice of yours, stop doing that. Okay? Then your informal communication on the email, just because you know that person well, it's also completely no. Why? Because informal communication, it's strictly prohibited on the professional email. Why? Because that professional email is been tracked by many other authorities and you should not put forward this kind of a communication on an email. It may hamper you some or the other day. So better not to have this kind of a practices. Though you know that person, you can put forward that one-liner, you can put forward any very simple message which you're wanting to deliver, but don't try to get jumped into the informal communication. Hey, I'm doing party and are you okay going up last night, or else I'm staying back to office, do you want me to accompany? Those are the informal conversations. Better not to use email as a medium to have this communication done. Make promises to other and then try to fulfill that promises in the given time frame. Another principle of being professional or being remarkable in the professional attitude is just to be committed with your words, with your task, and with the organization. Okay? So 3 commitments: to yourself first, then after to your team, and then after your organization. If you are able to perform this kind of a roles in your organization, you are well professional person. Okay, so try not to break any commitment. For that, you need to understand where your limit lies, where your not to do things lies, where you do not think lies, where your roles and responsibilities are not permitting you, where your policies, organizational policies are not permitting you, right? So all these things you need to learn before you are putting forward your promises, okay? But once you are saying yes, that simply means by hook or by crook, you have to fulfill that. And that person is using that liberty like anything, it will become headache, right? So it's better to maintain your own standard, better to maintain your limit, better to be in your own pace, and then try deliver, serve yourself to the corporate. Okay? Because you are not in school, neither you are into college, you have to understand as far as your concern is there, as soon as possible you have to understand that you are the corporate setup, and those things, what are things you are doing, are not permittable, and people are not at all giving you that liberty to continue that. Okay, it may gives you a simple, least reputed position. It may debrand you, and it may definitely occur some or the other problem in the future, right? So try to be professional enough, try to be etiquetted person enough to understand the corporate level, corporate competency, and then you can help yourself out. 6 to 8, yes, it's not bad situation. You are doing perfectly well, and you are under that radar whereby you observe and learn. So it's all good for you, but still you need to keep eye on what to do and what not to do, so that you can, increase your scoring, you can increase your professionalism, you can increase your etiquette and manners completely, right? And then after the last one, yes, of course, it's bingo for you, and you are all set to absorb yourself and the organizational culture, and people will be happy to have you in their organization. Why? Because you are well etiquette, well mannered person. You know how to speak, what to speak, when to speak. All the things are there for you. And what you have to do is you just have to resist yourself. You just have to be, continuously speaking on that line. You just have to be constant by putting this efforts, right? And that's what the organization is needing. Okay. Now, by having this particular thing, I understood that most of the standards and etiquette criterias we have covered, but let's understand that what to do now. Okay, so how can we put forward ourselves that yes, I am nicely etiquette person, or else yes, I can be a face of corporate etiquette. Okay, so there are 3 or 4 things which we wish to cover today, and the first thing which we have already covered, that first thing is communication. Second thing which I wish to cover is what to wear, right? Because your non-verbal travels better than your verbal. Now, what do you mean by non-verbal? Non-verbal, which is coming with your body actions, with your languages, gestures and postures. Non-verbal also comes with your accents, your tones, your voice styles. Non-verbal also comes with your grooming style. How are you dressing up? How your hairstyle is showing up? What color have you worn today, right? What kind of accessories you wish to carry with yourself? What kind of images which you are applying on your mobile phone or on your background, anything, what all fonts you are using in your email communication. How are you using your mobile phone? How are you using your WhatsApp chatting? All these things counts, and those are coming in a non-verbal. So your non-verbal travel faster than your words. So try to be as smarter as you can with your non-verbal. So if you learn how to be very perfect with your non-verbal, your verbal will be taken place automatically. Okay. So in a non-verbal, let's understand what all are the body language which you can acquire. So body language should be positive enough. Whenever you are dealing with someone, you have to be straight with the posture. I'm not saying straight that simply means you just have to be always in a very alert position, but at the time it makes you feel relaxed also, right? So the simplest trick which I give to my student is whatever chair you are acquiring for your sitting, this chair should have backrest, and you just have to make sure that your back should touches to that backrest completely, and your sit should touches to the junction of that particular chair. Okay, so it has to have this 90 angle. Okay, and 90 angle is always helpful for you to sit very correctly. Okay, so whatever chair you are acquiring, make sure this 90 angle should get proportionate by your body correctly. Okay, so that is all about posture. How can you define your posture? Now, whenever you are talking on a offline mode, you just have to make sure about your hand movement. So your hand movement should not be so louder, neither it should be so strength. Your hand movement, now I can have only this much body movement, yeah, for my hand movement, so that people will feel attracted towards me. What if I louder up my body movement like this? It is going out of the screen now, right? So it is not that appealing body posture. So I need to understand that my screen is allowing me to have this much of a body language, and that's way I just have to control with my body language. If I'm going offline, that way also people will not allow me to go wider and louder with my body language. So that way also I just have to limit myself so that people will start interacting with me in a very polite and disciplined way. Okay, you cannot lay down, you cannot twist your legs, you cannot keep on tickling with your body parts, hands, hairs. You cannot try be playful enough with your body parts during the conversation. Okay, so those are certain do's which if you can take care of, your body posture and body posture will be nicely presented. Okay, now coming to what to wear, right? So there are different criterias on which we can go on and on. But if we have to cover this topic in 2 or 3 bullet line, whatever gives you a soothing effect, those color are considered as a corporate color. Now when I say soothing effect, when you see Govinda, right? I'm sure you all must be knowing Govinda, right? So Govinda style is not a corporate style. Okay? So it's a one-liner thing. We are not here to represent ourselves as a Govinda. We are here to represent ourselves as a disciplined personality. So you can take any personality, you can take any person whom you like the most as a professional person, and you can acquire that particular styling for yourself. But make sure each and every corporate colors are always soothing. Okay, it will not gives you any kind of a vibration. It will neither gives you any kind of a emotional, trigger. Okay, so those are the colors which always which always gives you to balance your emotional things, and that's where it is considered as a corporate colors. No more higher accessories, no more voicey accessories are permitted in your corporate environment. So make sure your hand, your legs should not get enough voicey with your accessories. So simple rule for that: one body part, one accessories. Now, how can you define that one body part? Fingers are considered as one body part. So from here till here, it is known as a one body part. So if you can wear, if you are wearing a ring, that's it for this particular body part. Now you can go from here. Okay, so many of the rings in a one body part, it is not permitted. It is rather not looks professional. Now when we come to this is known as an arm. So one body part, one accessories, right? Watch is very essential accessories considered as a professional accessory, and one should not avoid not to wear that watch. It's not good gesture. So when you are avoiding wearing that watch, that simply means you are not valuing time. So make sure whenever you are going for any presentation, interview, corporate meetings, your watch should always be there, right? One body part, one accessory, and that too, most delicate accessories. No more voicey, no more noisy, right? So voicey and noisy, those are two different things. Noisy, that simply means उसके अंदर से आवाज आ रही है. Voicey, that simply means पूरे बॉडी में वही सारी चीजें दिख रही है. So both the things you need to avoid, right? एक्सेसरीज हो गया, अटायर हो गया, फुटवेयर्स, हील्स वाले फुटवेयर्स अगर आप पहनना चाह रहे हो, मेक श्योर उसके अंदर से भी बहुत ज्यादा आवाज नहीं आनी चाहिए. सो दोज टू लाइनर्स आर द कंक्लूजन ऑफ व्हाट टू वेयर इन द कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड, राइट? Now when we talk about meeting etiquette always gives you something which you always need to learn. There are two type of meetings which we always cover. One is a virtual one, another one is a offline one. So the two bullets which I wanting to give you here is you always have to be on time on a meeting, you always have to be alert in the meeting, and the third one, or rather the second one would be is whenever you are holding or arranging a meeting, make sure the timing should always be on लाइन, राइट? अगर आपने 15 मिनट का मीटिंग डिजाइन किया है, 15 मिनट से 1-2 मिनट इधर उधर, दैट्स ऑल फाइन, बट 15 मिनट का 30 मिनट्स, दैट इज नॉट परमिटेबल. 30 मिनट्स से भी कम अगर 25 मिनट्स भी हुआ, दैट इज ऑल्सो नॉट परमिटेबल. बफर इज ऑलवेज एज पर द टाइम लिमिट, राइट? 1-2 मिनट्स, 5 मिनट्स, 10 मिनट्स इधर उधर, दैट इज ऑल ओके, राइट? So those are the meeting etiquettes. Now the last one is telephone one, right? So you should avoid speaking on your personal phone during the office hours. First thing. Second thing is you should always avoid talking with the client in a very louder noise. You should always avoid talking with the client while you are driving. You should always avoid talking with the client while you are in a non-professional setup, right? So those are the complete no things. Another thing is you should always avoid while chewing or eating something. Another possibilities जो हम सभी के दिमाग में से निकल जाती है, this all are the possibilities, right? Now when we talk about email, reply to all, that is the common mistake which everybody is doing. It should not happen in the corporate world. Why? Because reply to all, it's completely unprofessional gesture. You always have to use CC and BCC, right? So those are considered as a professional gesture. And whenever you are putting a mail के अंदर there are three basic structure which you need to apply for what you are writing the mail. It should be there after first and second line. First line is considered as a greeting line. Second line onwards, it's considered for the main body. Main body should not get exceed from more than 5 to 7 lines अगर आपका कंटेंट थोड़ा ज़्यादा है तो. And then after you have to reach to the conclusion. Conclusion में you have to always put the remarks. Remarks के बाद you always have to end up with the regards. And then after your sign. Then after your professional designation you can put after your sign. Sign should always be your name, Deval Joshi. It should not cover with best regards Deval, Miss Deval. It should not be entertained, right? So Miss Deval Joshi, full name you have to write. Then after your designation, founder person of Deval the coach, and then after, if at all you are been provided the contact number, official contact number, you can write down that. So it will be easy for that person to be accessible with the all information, right? Attachments for one email, you cannot put 2 to 3 attachments at times. 1, 2, and 3 attachments, that is the maximum limit. Then after, if you want to attach anything, you have to have second look for the same. Either you can merge the file and you can send back. Okay. The formation or format of attachment should be friendly enough. A PDF and Word file is most friendly format which anyone can access. For picture format, JPG file is a most friendly format. For PPTs, PPT format is again most friendly format, so it has to have in a very friendly format. अगर आप उसके ऊपर कुछ access देना चाहते हो, then you have to put the guideline towards that, और वहाँ से आप उनको look में लेके जा सकते हो. So those are the mail etiquette या फिर email etiquette which we have covered up. Now, by having this discussion, let's jot down, let's understand what all are the takeaways which we have covered in this particular session. The first thing is which we learned out of this conversation, out of this session, is we have to honor our commitments. So whenever you are committed to your words, whenever you are putting forward your words as a commitment, that simply means by hook or by crook, you have to fulfill that. So understand and mark the value of your word, your words and samne wala ka words as well, right? Second thing as a takeaway which we can take is try to be attentive, responsive and proactive. All the time, as we have discussed from beginning, that corporate world is all about independency. And independency always comes when you become more attentive, when you become more responsible, and when you become proactive. What do you mean by proactive? Before plan action, if you can do, that simply means you are proactive enough, right? Third thing is try to understand your work culture, try to be adaptive enough with that. हमेशा हमने एक चीज देखी है कि wherever you are been absorbed, we have all the negative things on the topmost list, right? I do not have this in my organization is this, I'm that, and my organization is not doing all the things with me. All the complaints we have on a topmost priority, but what are you giving back to your organization? That is again a question mark, right? And at the same time, we never learn what all are the mistakes or what all are the errors. How can we justify that errors by putting our efforts? We never learn that, right? So being a professional, understand the error point, understand the minus things and try to rectify that, right? Why? Because you are now part of this organization. You are not an outsider. So it's always good to consider this as a family and understand what all are the errors which I can rectify and make my organization grow. Why? Because whenever my organization grow, simultaneously I will also grow, right? So you need to learn that. And foremost thing is what I understood. It's a basic one and it's important one as well. Wherever we are growing, we always understand one thing, that my personal attention or my personal interest should serve first. No, but in an organizational setting, we always have to learn organization first, then team first, and then at last our priority comes first, right? So don't try to be over personalized. मैं आज ये करूंगा, मैं आज वो करूंगा, मेरे साथ ये होगा, मेरे साथ वो होगा, मैं तभी काम करूंगी जब मुझे ओवर टाइम एक्सेस मिलेगा, मैं तभी काम करूंगा जब मुझे ये सारी चीजें मिलेगी. डोंट ट्राई टू बी एक्सेप्टिव इनफ, राइट? हमारे कल्चर में भी यही सारी चीजें हमें सिखाई जाती है कि लेना देना व्यवहार ऐसे होता है, राइट? बट let's understand the universal fact. Universal fact always say it's give and take. So unless and until you are not putting a drop, don't expect that samundar to come to you, right? So put a drop and then after expect something from that sea to get the chance कि आप वहां से एक drop कुछ समंदर का निकाल सकते हो and all these things, right? So it's always about give and take. लेना देना, it's not a good word, it's not a good sign, it's not a good gesture, right? Okay, and then what are we considered here? जब भी आप ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर काम करते हो, वी ऑलवेज हैव दिस साइड, आप लोग भी शायद इसके साथ कन्विंस होगे कि वी ऑलवेज बिलीव इन अ ग्रुपिज्म, वी नेवर बिलीव इन अ टीम. सो व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय ग्रुप एंड व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय टीम? let me give you a gist in 2 minutes. Group is one जिनके पास कोई गोल नहीं होते, कोई एथिक्स नहीं होते, they can work by their own, they can have their own comfort zone, और वो सारी चीजों के चलते हुए they match the same interest, और same interest वाले लोग साथ में बैठ के they are forming a group. And what is a team? Team, they do have a very specific goal to achieve, they do have a very specific thought process, they align with each other by different competencies, right? So there is a difference between group and team, but in an organizational culture, what we understood, we believe in developing in a group, we never believe in developing in a team. But iske baad, ye seminar ke baad, now you have to change your thought process, change your alternation, and now you have to work on a team formation rather a group formation. Okay, so those are the takeaways, and I believe that you guys like this seminar and you guys found something fruitful from this particular workshop, and I believe that it will be very helpful in your work culture, it will be very helpful to make yourself grow in the organizational culture, and it will be helpful for your professional growth. So thank you so much all of you who all are witnessing this particular webinar either through this link or through a live platform, and I really wish you all the very best for your future endeavor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much, ma'am.
This will definitely help our students to make their behavior better, to shine in their workplaces. Thank you so much on behalf of Scope. Your thoughtful insights are always guide our students. So thank you. Namaste, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody. Bye-bye.